Stop the Tigray genocide!
So I want to give credit to Brother Jeff, who puts this together on behalf of the Tagara people, who says with the Tigray people. So Brother Jeff, Denver, Colorado, we appreciate him. So this is the videos that he put together. Just wanted to let you know. So obviously, we were probably about 10 minutes to this, but you all know at the end of the day, who are we, Tagaru? Stop the Tigray genocide. By the way, I think I wanted to actually point out this. We aired it actually with Brother Jeff just last week. I want to make sure, you know, people appreciate Brother Jeff out of Denver, Colorado. We had a protest in Denver, Colorado. Obviously, so he's an amazing young African American who is passionate about humanity. So there I am in his show.
Who are we? I didn't hear him say, "Who are we?" Ethiopian. Like Nikki Tigray, I gotta tell you, it's been 223 days of genocide in Tigray. 223 days, and depending on what side of the pond you're on, it could be 224 days. The Rwanda genocide took place over 100 days. We are 223 days into a genocide. And for those who are tuning in right now, what we want you to do, and I know there are going to be a lot of folks that are going to say, what can I do?
So here we are. Those of you who follow Brother Jeff, I want us to extend our appreciation to what he does. He volunteers his time tirelessly. He speaks volume for our people. With that, the broadcasting that we did in Tigrinya, we are going to repeat it in English. So appreciate you tuning in. So we're going to start with the chemical weapon in Tigray. What is the consequence of the chemical weapon in Tigray? What is Abiy Ahmed's desperation to ethnic cleansing in Tigray? And then we're going to continue sliding the discussion about the strength of TDF and the will of our people in Tigray. Their only crime, of course, is for electing people to govern the region of Tigray. So if an election is a crime, we might well just make every nation on this earth like North Korea, like Eritrea. One man, one rule. So this is Tigray Mircha 2012. That is in the Tigray calendar. I know many of you used to say the dirty Ethiopian calendar. So I'm going to say in Tigray calendar, which took place, that is 2020 in the Western calendar that we use. In Tigray calendar 2012, because depending on the year, it's either 7 or 8 year difference anyway. So I don't want to be quoted for that, but this is a mass. I want you to know the crime committed by the Tigray people is simply for speaking up and electing regional government of Tigray. For those of you in the United States, I'm more familiar with the rules and laws of the United States. You get to decide who should run your city. You elect your own mayor. You get to elect your own county people who should run your county. You get to elect your state senators and state representative and state governor. That is not a crime. That is democracy. In Tigray, that's precisely what our people did. But the history behind it is deep. Abiy Ahmed wants us to believe and wants the world to believe that Tigray declared war on Ethiopian soldiers in Mekelle. which is actually untrue. And in fact, it was Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki who collaborated and colluded and worked together for 2 years, 2+ years actually, to corner Tigray, to destroy Tigray, to commit genocide in Tigray. So Eritrea, Ethiopia are both guilty of genocide. I'm going to pass on the baton to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on Cyber Power of Tigray. I'm really honored to be here today to speak up and to be the voice for the voiceless for our people who are deeply suffering in Tigray region. Civilians, women and children, young and old. For me, there's nothing more than this. My people, our people, are being killed on a daily basis. Women and children are being raped by merciless soldiers from the Ethiopian Defense Forces and also from the Amhara militias, as well as the Eritrean Defense Forces. It's very unfortunate. It's almost more than 6-7 months now. This war has been going on in Ethiopia, in Tigray, as you have stated, just because the people voted their own leaders, both locally and also regionally in Tigray. But this has been going on to dismantle the life of Tigrayans, not only from Tigray, but also from all regions in Ethiopia. There are thousands of Tigrayans who are in jail, in prison, all over Ethiopia at this time for just being Tigrayans. They haven't committed any crime. They had just normal life like everybody else. But just because they are Tigrayans, they are just in jail and prison. So we are here so to speak up for those brothers and sisters who are suffering, who gave their lives, and also for our people, for the dear people of Tigray, who are inhumanely being punished by their own government. I don't believe that's a government of Ethiopia. He was never elected. There was no election anyways. But the legally elected government in Tigray is a TPLF. Over 2.8 million people elected that government, and the people chose. And as you have stated, for a democratic country, for any country, even though it's not democratic, unless it's a dictatorship, like North Korea or like in Eritrea, which never had any kind of election, they only have 1%. But this, in the eye of the developed countries all over the world, this is insane. But we are in the state of war at this time. People are being killed. Illegal weapons are being used to kill people. Just civilians and farmers are not able to harness their land. Pretty much everything in Tigray is just going down the hill because of the actions of the Eritreans and the Amhara militias in the Ethiopian government. So we as a diaspora Tigrayans, we have to speak up for them. We have to make sure everything that's being done in Tigray has to be exposed. We have to bring it into revelations so that people are aware, governments from different countries are aware of it. By now, most of the countries are aware. As you know, the United Nations has been speaking about it, the G7, and then also, especially the United States has been taking action. So my message to, it's very unfortunate. We'll talk about it more in the next hour or so. But it's just unfortunate, but I'm very proud of our people that they're fighting so far, so good.
So I want to focus on for a sec, though, on the chemical weapon, the impact of chemical weapon. I agree with you that we need to continue to speak for Tigray, for our people in Tigray, and I think we've done a pretty good job. But we want to continue. When the momentum shifts, we got to shift with it. We have to make sure, because one of the biggest success we have had that we didn't have in the past is social media and the media itself. As Tagaru, we've been sleeping while the Amhara has been building their media platforms, their false propaganda. We didn't counter that. We didn't act on that the past 2.5 years, let alone when they spent 20 plus years selling false propaganda to their people, saying TPLF is your enemy, TPLF is destroying Ethiopia, TPLF stealing everything and taking it to Tigray. They made it look like Tigray has been built like gold-plated. The rest of Ethiopia has been destroyed. And the false propaganda effectively worked, because 99%, if not 99.9% of the Amhara people supports what's happening in Tigray. I'm yet to come up with very few, but the rest of the Amhara tribe in Ethiopia to stand against the genocide in Tigray, let alone politically. They can have their own political platform. I mean, we have a guy here in Seattle, Washington. He just got paid by Abiy Ahmed. He was standing with us on his platform and saying the genocide needs to stop. In the last few weeks, he gets a nice check from Abiy Ahmed. What did he do now? He flips the coin and he goes where the money is. Now he's talking about, how there's no genocide in Tigray and how the Tigray people, the Tigray government is the evil and all these things. So going back to the chemical weapon. So TDF on the ground, we know, is gotten strong, is actually fighting. It's no longer attacking and running. That is not what TDF is doing. It's got regroup itself, rearm itself, using the enemy's weapon, believe it or not, because in Tigray, we don't have manufacturing, let alone for chemical weapons, but even for an AK-47, for bullets to use an AK-47, we don't have those factories. Tigray was not building military to destroy East Africa or Eritrea or Ethiopia. Tagaru people fought for Ethiopia, the dirty country called Ethiopia, brought democracy, held elections, and created prosperous economy. And the economy is now destroyed in 7 months. So while the economy is destroyed, while people are starving to death, he is actually importing chemical weapons to use it on civilians in Tigray. And he has already used it. So I'm not as optimistic as many when it comes to the United Nations. I don't believe the United Nations has any strength or will or ability to do anything other than to be the peace mouth of the few wealthy nations in this earth. So I don't have any confidence in the United Nations. United Nations is a failed entity, a failed. I mean, if you look at the history since 1942, World War II, the United Nations has done nothing. But it serves as peace mouth of the wealthy nations. The Western society spare no time when it comes to any white lives, including Kosovo in 1997. NATO took swift action to stop the genocide in Bosnia by taking out then President Milosevic. They brought him to the ICC, and he was guilty of genocide. I have no doubt in my mind, Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki are both guilty of genocide. But they are allowing the atrocity. They, meaning America, is speaking, but no action is taken. Europe is talking, but no action is taken. I have no hope on Russia and China, because Russia and China, it's all about Russia wants to sell weapons to various countries, where they turn around and their old weapons are sold to African nations to massacre their own people. So again, Why now chemical weapon?
I think it's a very good question, brother. I think we have to understand why is Abiy so desperate to use chemical weapons. We can learn from history. We can learn from history. For example, so many foreign journalists, media, has been stating that over 4.5 million people in Tigray are desperate of food, aid, but at the same time, there we see Mr. Abiy Ahmed is visiting parks, building parks. Let's go back in history. King Haile Selassie, when there was poverty and no food in Wallo, he was celebrating his birthday and he was feeding his puppies when so many people were starving to death, both in Wallo and Tigray. And let's see Mengistu Haile Mariam, when we had starvation in Wallo, all he did was settlements. He was settling people from one place to another place. So this is repeating itself. So pretty much Abiy used every weapon that is available on his hands. He used starvation as a weapon. He used rape as a weapon. He tried his mass media, both locally in Ethiopia and also his bandits all over the world via social media to dehumanize and demoralize Tigrayans by any means in the last 3-4 months, not only the last 2-3 years. So unfortunately, Abiy's tactics did not work for him. We know the people of Tigray, the young, the brave young men and women of Tigray are resilient. As you have stated, they gathered together, and they came back and they are fighting. Before they were on the defensive position, now they are on the offensive position, as they have stated. So this is the ultimatum for him. He knows for sure if he fails on this war, he will no longer be the king. As they have stated, the last 2-3 years, nobody, no other tribe besides Tigrayans dare to oppose him, to speak against him for whatever he's doing. All the against, he broke every law, every constitution. There's no constitution. They have broken everything. The only people who spoke up and told him that everything that he was doing was against the constitution, it was against the law, was the Tigrayans. So this was the reason why he's so desperate for chemical weapons. He tried starvation, like I said. He tried to kill people. He tried every weapon he had. Remember, he brought foreign countries to attack his own country, Tigray. He brought drones. He burned every weapon the Tigrayan defense forces had. We learned from our leaders, from the leaders of the TDF. They started from the ground. Every weapon they had was destroyed. Now they're grouping together, gathering together, fighting and winning the war. So he knows. So they're desperate for use of chemical weapons to pretty much to finish this genocide. He's been doing it, but it's our soldiers, our young men and women are great fighters. They have the skills, the old and the young, all the generation. So he's trying to bring down the whole Tigray, just the whole, to punish collectively the 5 million population in Tigray. So if he does that, then his vision is to be the king until he dies. But unfortunately, this weapon of chemical use is against the law, against the United Nations. I know I'm not expecting an action against from the United Nations, but if we bring these actions into the United Nations, also to the NATO, then we have more options to bring those people who are responsible into justice. So he just so desperate. He used every weapon he had on his hand, but he's not able to succeed as he planned. Remember, he said it will take 2-3 days to finish the war. Unfortunately, look at what's going on right now. It's been almost 6-7 months now, over 7 months. And what we learned from this one is the brave young women and Tigrayans, men and women in Tigray, they are resilient. They have the experience. They are fighting hard. They are fighting back. They will never bow to pressure, to killings. So this is a tactic by him. And also, by the way, he's being advised by Isaias. He is a puppet of Isaias. So we know what Isaias did to his people. There's millions of generations in Eritrea. Either they are dead, or they have migrated out of the country, or they are in prison. So he's just following his footsteps, taking his advice by eliminating the people who he thinks that they are against him, will not allow him to continue to lead the country. So that's the main reason.
So I think it's a broader question, obviously, but to narrow some of this discussion for us to understand is that Tigray obviously did not have a broader and stronger military ready to defend its territory because it relied on the federal system, the federal military. And then the weapon that it actually had and it seized from the Northern Command of the federal troops actually was the most advanced, most sophisticated weapon on the hands of TDF. I don't want to put you in a situation, but do you see the failure of the decision makings that we often get tangled in, and then when it's too late, we go back and say, oh, we made a mistake, we learned from it, and we're going to improve? Because when you look at the history, the pattern, you know, I'm really grateful the men and women of Tigray who are fighting and defending Tigray with nothing right now. But it's very expensive price. We're paying heavy price right now because we have had hiccups and mistakes and whatnot. But would you disagree with me if I respectfully say that is a failure in leadership? That when you are leading, it is collective responsibility with your team of experts, advisors, those who are leading the military, those who are leading the agriculture, those who are leading the diplomat world and whatnot. You bring them together and you listen collectively and you take every precaution necessary, because 2+ years earlier, Tigray was being cornered from left and right. So the attack in Tigray, the only thing that we and the Tigray people and the Tigray government may not know is the cruelty of it that we see today, the level of attack, and the number of forces from Eritrea, from the federal government, and from Somalia, and the drone that you mentioned. But you can't also at the same time sugarcoat it or say, well, you know, they weren't sure if this many soldiers are going to come, if that kind of weapons are going to come. And then now we also like saying like, oh, because if it wasn't for the drone, forget all this iffy and all these things. Okay. You have to know the moment Abiy Ahmed start dating Isaias Afwerki, Tigray was in danger. Tigray was facing great danger. Why in the world do you preserve the heavy weapons that we had in our hand? Why do you just send a few missiles to Asmara? Why not destroy the airport in Asmara without human collateral damage? Why not destroy the Eritrean government buildings within Asmara, the propaganda machine Irra TV, Sawa, the military training camp, Asab, that was housing the drones? Because I know we attack Gondar, which now it's called Al-Gondaria, because most of the Amhara region is now occupied or taken by our brothers from Sudan, which we greatly appreciate. I appreciate them, by the way. I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody. On behalf of my own self, my own body, I appreciate Sudan. I want them to keep going deep. I'm in support of Sudan's action, because Sudan is the only East African country that stood and continues to stand with us, Tagaro. So my point here is the collateral damage that is our own mistake. We had everything in our hand. Everything was in our disposal. So why are we, every time we pay a hefty price, we turn around, we compromise? Why?
First of all, I completely agree with you on all the things I said just right now. For me, this is a failure of leadership in Tigray, particularly the government of Tigray, both in Tigray and also those who represented Tigray who were in the regional government, the federal government in Addis Ababa, in Finfinne. It's not a failure of 1 or 2 years. This has been a failure of the last 30 years. So the government who are supposed to represent all Tigrayans come from Tigray. They represent the people in the federal government. I believe those people, I'm not going to say 100% all of them, but most of them have forgotten Tigray in general. They were living in their own lives, in their own world, when our people were suffering. Secondly, there was, besides the failure of the government, there was underestimation. As you have stated, they were not acting such huge forces, power coming from different countries attacking Tigray. Unfortunately, we have seen the signs and symptoms of war. The signs, they were coming to Tigray, as you have stated, when Isaias, Abiy worked together. We know Isaias. He's an enemy of Tigrayans. Not only Tigrayans, he's an enemy of his own people, Eritreans. When they worked together, our leaders failed. As he's doing right now, he's been dividing our leaders. Some of them have been collaborating with him. Some of them, they flew to Tigray. Some of them were in the middle. So this underestimation that they will not do anything, we are powerful, we have history, if they dare to declare a war on us, we'll fight and we'll win. That was an underestimation that was mainly presented by the regional government in Tigray. That's the main reason. So again, this is a failure. It's not only this leadership. If you back in history, King Johannes, who's Tigrayan, he took 100,000 soldiers to save Gondar, and Menelik worked against foreign governments to kill 100,000 Tigrayans, including King Johannes. So another thing that I see from here right now is like, we're not learning from history. Our leaders in the last 30 years did not learn a single thing from history. Ethiopia does not respect Tigrayans. Ethiopia is a very bad apple for Tigrayans. Any Tigrayans, if you've seen the last 3 years, there were so many young people, college students from Amhara region who are Tigrayans. They were being killed on a daily basis. And they were sent to Tigray. Their body was sent to Tigray. If you noticed, only 1 or 2 or 3 of them were on the news. The other people, the other young people who died in Amhara, who were killed mercilessly by Amharas, we never heard their names on the news. Why? Because the government, the regional government in Tigray, suppressed the media so that people of Tigray and people of Amhara are brothers and sisters. They will live together peacefully. To me, that's a false brotherhood. Those people who believe we have the same religion, the same history, who are Amharas, they are killing our children. In Amhara region, they have been killing them. So if they're killing your children, how are you supposed to live peacefully with them? How are you going to be neighbors, great neighbors? It's impossible. So, my point is that this is a failure of the leadership. The people, they have voted a government. The government is supposed to fulfill the needs of its people. The government has failed that. So we have to accept this one as our mistake on the leadership side. I'm not a professional in war, but to add to the chemical weapons earlier, right now the last option he has failed diplomatically in the world. Before that, Ethiopia, we've seen the progress in Ethiopia, both diplomatically and also economically. The IMF has witnessed double-digit growth in Ethiopia because of Tigrayans. So this nation, this called bad nation, Ethiopia, is punishing Tigrayans for being Tigrayans. So this is a failure of the Tigray leadership. I hope in the future, in the near future, this won't happen again. It won't repeat itself.
Well, I mean, so first and foremost, when you say Ethiopia, I like to use the word dirty Ethiopia, because nobody in this planet would actually use their own military and invite an enemy to kill, to rape, to destroy their own territory, their own people. So, you know, today we still have people, again, that believe somehow magically the suffering of our people from Tigray, the death of civilians in Tigray, the rape of the Tagaru young girls and women and senior citizens, the civilians be taken out of their homes and executed, is somehow is going to be forgotten just like the 17 years of fighting that put our brothers and sisters in Arat Kilo. And when they start learning how to Thai and start learning how to speak Amharic and English and French and German and whatnot, what you say to your point, forgot our people. I'm not trying to bring up the old wounds. But again, anyone who is Tigrayan nationalist, who believes Tigray first, our people second, our politics third, they should not be afraid to speak about it. It is not dividing us. It is questioning ourselves and our people. What went wrong? And then we use the mistake, the errors, the flaws that we had, and we move on. But we move on so strong that we would never look back and say, we did not leave a single stone unflipped. Because we Tagaru, we have flipped every stone on this planet. And we have learned the hard way that we don't have friends. We don't have good neighbors. It is no difference. Tigray struggle is no difference of the Israeli people, the Jewish people's struggle. See, when Hitler was a Nazi German military, he convinced the people of Germany to eliminate Jewish. Between 5 to 6 million Jewish were killed in the 19th century. In the 21st century, 5.2 million Tigrayans are in need of humanitarian assistance. On average, 150 civilians in Tigray are dying of starvation. This crisis is a man-made. We are paying an ultimate price because of our failure. We in the diaspora also were not awake. We're not united. We're not working together. When Ethiopia, the country called Dirty Ethiopia, was booming and our people in Tigray was suffering, we weren't speaking up. I wasn't speaking up. I wasn't challenging EPRDF saying, hey, you're starving my people. You're not doing anything. We all just forgot. We moved on. We focused on our fantasy in the diaspora. So I think the responsibility also falls on us. Each one of us, as Tigrayans, Tigrayan Americans, Tigrayan whatever, throughout the world, we also have to own our responsibility. We have not united our people. We have not worked with our people. But today, we look back our flaws. We look back the failures of leadership. So we're not creating division. We bring in the facts. This is not awareness. This is speaking the truth. Sometimes speaking the truth is not easy. It hurts. When you see, and when I see videos like the one I'm going to show, 30-second clip, an Amhara soldier, a man and a woman, taking out a farmer from his home. I believe what to be his adult son, walks them into a cliff, shoots them multiple times in the back. And the female says, Al Motam, Al Motam. And then she shoots him again. And the male soldier says, Aizosh Jigna. Killing civilian, it makes you Jigna. Killing like the defenseless people of Tigray makes you Jigna. I don't know what planet my Tagara brothers and sisters live, but if this doesn't hit to your core, if this doesn't piss you off and make you just unite together and destroy the enemy, I'm not sure what will. I said it earlier in Tigray. I'm going to say that now in English. For those cadres, for those puppets who's got little wealth in Addis Ababa and are worried about their money and their buildings while our people are being slaughtered like goats, I have no room for them. And when I say this, I'm talking some of them are career politicians. Now, sometimes I wonder if these people were career politicians, if they were freedom fighters, how did they manage to have buildings in Addis Ababa that earns them $9,000 to $10,000 US rental income? Because if you work for government Ethiopia, that dirty country called Ethiopia, there's no way. So I'm wondering, even our own people that have been snakes, sipping in the money from the Tigray people, stealing and advancing their own agenda. Look, you know way more than myself included, many people, when it comes to the reality, when it comes to religion. Adam and Eve was deceived by who? The devil being inside of the snake. So we do have Tigrayans, Tagaru, who are also evil, devil. They're double-faced. They pretend they're with us, but when you search their soul and take a look at them, they do totally different. So for those Tagaru who respect dirty Ethiopia, for those like General Samora, who sold Tigray and is supportive of Abiy Ahmed, while Tigrayans are murdered, you won't believe the respect I used to have for General Samora. But it hurts me to the point where I find no words to describe people that sell out their people and their country. I'm saying country, Tigray, because it's a matter of time. Tigray will become a country. Tigray will be a country. And for those who say, oh, you're speaking too soon, you don't want to harden our enemies. How hard can they become? The youngest victim of rape is 4 years old. They're killing us. They're raping our people. What more do you want us to say and do? You seriously want me to bow them, to ask them for mercy? They give no mercy. They just don't. The only way out of this is for all of us, all Tigrayans around the world, to fight hard. We fight, the fight that we're doing through social media, through media, money, putting together to fund a lot of these movements that we're doing, but to also figure out a way to help our people. For example, our refugees in Sudan, they need our help. They need money to buy medicine, to buy food, to buy like tents. It's a rainy season. Are we doing that? Yes, but are we doing enough? Because some people are doing a lot. Some people are doing nothing. Some people actually are cheering the Amhara and the Shabia who is killing our people. That's a sad reality. I mean, I just found out like recently, there's like a banda in Seattle who's participated with us. But internally, he's a member of the Bilsigana. Tigray, speaking Tigrinya with us, coming out to protest with us. So we have to really be thinking, critical thinking. See, like when MLK died at age 39, he wasn't thinking about becoming the president of the United States. He was thinking, how do I free my people from slavery? How could I unite my African-American brothers and sisters, but have them ally to fight with? And that's what we need to do. That's how we need to think. In the process, Tagaru, we have issues as I speak now. We put a few people on the top. We look up to them because they speak well, and we say they know everything. When it's time for a media interview, we have 2-3 people that would go and speak over and over and over. When it comes to diplomacy work, everybody asks each other, oh, you know, Dr. So-and-so or Professor so-and-so or like this young man or this young woman. He selectively picked less than 10 people. We have hundreds of thousands of intelligent young men and women in the diaspora. We need to make room for all of them. For the talented ones, bravo, thumbs up. Let's make room though. Because if Meles Zenawi had trained and prepared 2-3 million Tagaro like him, the sharp brain that he took to his grave, imagine where Tigray would be today. So my fear is for those who are saying only them are the ones should be running the show. It's a dangerous move. When I go out throughout the country for protests, chanting, speaking, whenever, hardly, but whenever, a media that's run by white people shows up, we have very few people. They will run to the front. They want to be in the front line. They want to be the one speaking. Even when there was a bunch of other people chanting, doing an amazing job, young men and women born and raised in this country speaking for Tigray, it is Tagaro who were born in Tigray and grew up in Tigray, has been here for 5, 6, 7, 10 years. They want to jump and they want to be the headline. They want to be the famous 15-second, 20-second, 60-second clip they want to show to the world with their broken English. And that pisses me off. I'm not saying I'm no exception, but we have amazing people. Seattle, Washington, Fadila. She's an amazing, talented young woman who can elaborate and speak on behalf of the Tigray people. I can go to Denver, Colorado, Susie and Samhal, and I can go on and on. I can go to the Bay Area. We have talented young ladies, Ruth, Adi, high schooler, some of them actually, Eden, and I can go on and on. LA, we can talk about it. Las Vegas, we can go to the East Coast. We got Chernet, we have many other people. So, you know, I know I'm like all over, but the point I'm making is that we really need to be thinking critical. We need to have critical thinking. We need to say, okay, if something happens to you and I, we should be thinking that you should be communicating, working with 20, 30, 40, 50, or 100 young men and women from Tigray to spread the love at the same time to make sure that they understand who our enemy is, but you bring them in the front line. Same way with me. So in the event that something happens to you and I, we got them ready to go. Because after Meles died, Ethiopia fell into disaster. And Mickey, Laurie, thank you. Atlanta, yes, amazing young Tagaros in Atlanta. In fact, I actually joined them at one of the protests in Atlanta. I've gone to DC and New York and, you know, Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, Las Vegas, Denver. I mean, I've been there 3 different times, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Oklahoma City. I think I didn't go, of course, to every city, every protest, but I have participated. So thank you for the reminder. Yes, Atlanta has an amazing young Tagaro that are actually brilliant. That will make a difference tomorrow back in Tigray when Tigray is a nation. And Tigray will be a nation. So you kind of wondering, where's Mike going with all of this? Where I'm going with this is that you were talking about the leadership in the dirty country called Ethiopia and our people's failure. We are also making mistakes here. We are becoming powerful by unity. Eritrea accepted slavery. After 30 years of victory for independence, Eritreans accepted slavery for 30 years, allowing Isaias Afewerki to destroy so many of their people. Many young, amazing-looking, beautiful Eritreans have died in the Red Sea, crossing over to the Middle East and to Europe. Young men from Eritrea have left the country because they're forced to slavery, to military camps for national service, starting at age 14. Many young, beautiful Eritrean women have been raped and massacred for the last 30 years throughout the Middle East and other nations. In Libya, many Eritreans have been beheaded. Who spoke for them? Who speaks for them? Nobody. When I say nobody, the good Eritreans and the diaspora actually have spoken. But Eritreans have not come together, united like us Tagaro. So, we Tagaro have done an amazing job in the last 7 months. But right now, the concern that I share, I stand by. I want to make sure when organizations like SJT work so hard, writing letters, organizing, we give them credit where credit is due. When individuals come out and speak, we respect them and appreciate them, give them credit, but remind them, including myself, to be reminded that we give space for the so many Tagaro to be part of the movement, to get the mic on their hand to speak what's happening in Tigray. Because right now, I don't care if you have a piece of paper that says you represent Tigray. You don't represent me. I represent me. I stand for Tigray because it's my people, it's my blood. It's my money, and I get to support my people in Tigray, whether it be TDF, TDA, the refugees in Sudan. We need to continue the support. We need to vamp up. We need to rise up. We need to continue the fight. It should not be limited to X number of people to go out to protest. The protest has shrunk. Why? Are we becoming accustomed? This is not a coronavirus. Our people don't get to wear a mask to save themselves from the coronavirus like we could in the diaspora or whatnot. They are being killed. So before I let you comment, I'm going to warn you guys, for those of you who do not want to see a graphic video, I'm going to show you a graphic video. But it's a 30-second video. Before I show you the video, I'm going to warn you, if you have children with you, please, it's time for you to have your children away. This is not I'm not ready yet to show you the video. I will show you, but this is amazing. Mike Wallace is wearing Tigray mask. This man has been fighting for us Tagaro. So, as Tagaro, if you're not proud of this guy, I'm not sure what will make you proud of. The clip you saw on the side, I had to close for a sec, is the clip that I'm going to show you. 2 civilians in Tigray taken out of their home and murdered, executed by Ethiopian, the dirty country called Ethiopian federal troops. When the day broad light and being called Wayane for farmers that have nothing to do with the fighting. So if you have a soul, speak up. Mike Wallace, if you guys don't follow him, please do. He's been speaking for the people of Tigray. He's a member of parliament. He's a politician. He is wearing a Tigray mask. I'm going to repeat that again. Moving on. Joseph Borrell, on the eve of the G7, joined forces to open eyes of the world on the unacceptable situation in Tigray. To the people of Tigray, we say, you are not alone. To the parties involved in this conflict we say, the world is watching. You will be held accountable. Indeed, those killers will be held accountable. So with that, again, before I play this clip, it's 30 seconds. I'm warning you, if you don't want to see it, I'm giving you 6 more seconds to turn away to have your children away from the screen, because what you're going to see is horrific video. There we go.
Veio. Jack não. Entra aí.
So that's how they kill our people. I'm sure many people already saw this video. I'm sure it's heartbreaking. I'm sure it just boils our blood. These are the people you're telling me that we have a chance to be families with, to unite with them, for Tigray to reconcile with these people? Are we? I'm gonna let you talk.
You know, Mike, my heart is bleeding. It's just so horrible to see this done on just civilians. I don't have words to explain, to express it. This, as you have stated, makes every Tigrayan to work hard, to work united, to fight back. It's not a time to sleep. It's not a time to relax. It's not a time for a vacation. It's time for fighting. It's time for united together and then helping each other. That's all I can say about this one. However, to add points to the topics that you were stating earlier, especially to the young generation that we have in the diaspora, I believe so far the young men and women, starting from high school all over to a lot of professionals we have, great public speakers we have, all over the United States and Europe and Canada. They have been working hard, but we can do way better than what we're doing right now. Let me remind one story. Let me tell you one story that happened about 4 or 5 months ago. We had a protest in Seattle, Washington here. And I've seen so many young people, young Tigrayans who had so much potential. You can see from their speech, the way they speak, the way they protest, they are just amazing people, energetic. And I was given a chance to speak as well for a few minutes in English. I spoke in English and also I spoke in Tigray at the end. I appreciated those young people, but I also asked the Tigrayan community what we have in Seattle, Washington, to coach those young generation, those young energetic Tigrayans, so that they can work in the Tigray community. Because tomorrow, they will be the ambassadors of Tigray. Tomorrow, they will be the leaders of Tigray. So I said, I did not expect this many people in Seattle, Washington. Many people showed up for the protest. So many young people showed up for the protest. So I asked the young generation to get into, to be part of the Tigray community, to be members of the Tigray community, to be leaders of the Tigray community. And I asked the leaders of the Tigray community at this time, and also back then, that was 6 months ago, to receive, to bring those young people so that they lead the community. I'm not afraid of speaking myself. I speak up when I see something that's not good, that would harm our people, that would harm our unity, that will break our unity. I speak up. I do not hesitate for a moment. Guess what, Mike? The next day, I got a phone call. I was told not to speak up like that in public, especially about the Tigray community. So I tried to explain to the person who called me as a friend. Unfortunately, I repeated myself what I said. I believe in what I said, and I will repeat it again. There is a spider web, an old spider web, trying to drag us backwards, that has been set for the last 30 years, unfortunately. It's been trying to drag us backwards. Those young people don't even have a chance to work in those communities. How many Tigray communities do we have in the United States? All over the world. How many do we have? Almost on every state in the United States, we have Tigray communities. How effective are they in uniting those people together? We have lots of educated people, younger generation in the United States. So there is a wave that was set up for a long time, and that wave is blocking. It's putting a stop sign in the front for those young people to join in and work hard and make a difference in the Tigrayan community. That's a problem we have. Another problem, we have almost 70,000 Tigrayans living in the settlements in Sudan. What is the point of, we see it's a rainy season, it's a winter season. We are witnessing from videos from those people. They don't have tents, they don't have any rain is dropping on their heads day and night. They don't have a place to sleep at. So when we see this inhumane acts, we can easily, the diaspora community, Tigrayans, we can easily solve this issue by donating money and buying just the important things that they need for life, to live. Food, shelter, water, clothing. I heard millions of dollars are in the hands of the TDA. What are we waiting for? Not to dispense, to use the money, the funds, to help our people in Sudan. What's the reason behind it? So after seeing all this, still the old system that was creating separation among us, it still exists. But now it's not a time to continue that way. Luckily, we have media. Thank you to you guys, and also other media platforms we have. Our people are learning a lot. The young generation, I've seen a lot of improvements in the last 6 months. It's because they are getting all these media advices that you guys present. So there is a lot of improvement, but we can do way better than this one. So my advice to those young people is go and be part of your community, the Tigrayan community. Get in there, tell them you want to represent your people, you want to work for your people. Tell them you want to be the next leader. For me, a leader is a servant of his people. People elect their leaders so that the leader can serve them. But that's not what we've seen the last 30 years. So let's now go back. I'm not trying to bring the old wounds we had the last 30 years. Our people have benefited nothing compared to other nations or nationalities in this evil country, Ethiopia. Nothing. So from this, these people, the father and the son, the father sounds like he's a priest. They have done nothing. This shows you this evil Ethiopia is a killer of Tigray. It's a killer of Tigrayans. So if a country is killing you, why do you want to be a part of that country? Why? To die again? So it's time for change. I hope, I believe, I don't think we'll have any issues in forming our nation, Tigray. I believe we have a bright vision in the future, in the near future. Like you said, we'll probably have people who have, who love Finfinne, who have buildings and other things in all over Ethiopia. They may have businesses. But if you're not learning from this, your people are being killed on a daily basis. You are being wiped from the face of the earth. Your mothers and your sisters in Tigray are being killed so that they don't give birth to children who will be Tigrayans. This is shame on your nose. This is shame. Because tomorrow, you will be next. All the buildings or your money, all the property you collected in the last 30 years will be gone.
Well, in fact, it is actually gone, with all due respect.
Exactly.
All Tagaros right now, based on our ethnicity, the poor and the rich are equal now because he have dismantled everything and shut down bank for those who's got money in the bank in Tigray. I mean, he's like shut it down. So I'm not, I'm with you on this. I guess, I want to clarify a few points for those who are wondering. In the chat and also publicly, when I go protest, they ask me like, Mickey, when we talk about independence, don't you think it's dangerous for us to go that route? Because Ethiopia has the airlines, the wealth, the businesses, everything. And I'm telling them, look, let me tell you something. Every blood drip in Tigray and throughout Ethiopia, based on our ethnicity, it has a heavy price. When a region, which is entitled rightfully so under Article 39 of the Constitution in Ethiopia, requests to become independent, Ethiopia does not have the authority or the power to say to Tigray, become independent, but you're not entitled to anything. That's not how it works. So for those of you who are nervous, I am not a scholar, but I know little. The little things that I know, I'm going to share it with you. Eritrea is going to pay a heavy price for the death of our people. Even Eritreans who are educated understands this. Tagaru blood, Tagaru life is not free. The psychological and trauma toll on our people for generations to come has a price. It's not for free. The infrastructure that was destroying Tigray, everything that was looted and taken to Eritrea, it has a price. Ethiopia and Eritrea has a hefty price to pay for the people of Tigray and for our Tigray when it becomes a nation. TDF's job is clear. TDF will ultimately become the most successful and powerful military in the Horn of Africa. There is no dirty Ethiopian military without Tigray. So for those of you who are hesitant, who are thinking, oh my gosh, you're speaking too soon. There's nothing too soon at this point. For those of you who watched the clip, that woman who executed and made sure those people are dead and still bullets going through their body, that's what Mengistu did. And you know what? I remember, as Tigrayans, if you have to collect the body of your loved one that they execute, they use more bullet so that you can pay a price for each bullet. These are our people. Our people are being executed and we have to pay a price. In Derg era now, they don't want the dead bodies to be touched by anybody. They want it to rot there. They want it like hyena to be eating it. They want it to, to terrify if anyone is left in the area they haven't slaughtered. They have not executed. I'm using the word executed because they are executing our people. Okay? Let me just be clear. Eritrean army, Ethiopian army, Amhara militia, which we call them Fat Alabash, Niftam, they are murdering our people. They're executing civilians in Tigray. They're gang raping young girls and women in Tigray. What more do you need? What evidence do you need at this point? So we want independent Tigray. We want Tigray to win and to be a nation once and for all. We want those invaders, those haters to be out of Tigray. We want to build strong military in Tigray. We want to have a strong immigration system in Tigray. For all our brothers and sisters from Eritrea, Amhara, Beshangul, all over the world, we will not change. We will be the same Tagaru. We will welcome them, but we will be very, very, very careful, just the same way that Israelis do. We'll make sure the snakes that are sneaking into our lands in Tigray will be under surveillance. We'll make sure that no information will be taken out of Tigray. No theft, no rape, no massacre, no violation will be done in Tigray. Because you know what? When Ethiopia was under crisis, under Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, it was only the Tigray region that has the most secure and peaceful region. I mean, we know how to do that because we, Tagaru, we are the most responsible, matured people. We don't have issue with that. That's not our problem. Our problem is, once again, we trust in very few people within our own people, and we just empower them. And when we see danger, we just let them say whatever they want to say. And we don't question them because in our culture, oh, that is not like something that you do. We are doing that now. We are going to continue to do that. That is not to disrespect any of my brothers and sisters who are freedom fighters. The heroes were not born yesterday. The heroes of Tigray have been there throughout history for dirty Ethiopia. I am saying the death of Tagaru Jaganu, let it be for Tigray. Let it be for us, for our people. I don't care about Ethiopia anymore. I don't care what anybody says. Ethiopia is dirty. Ethiopia is a killer. Higdaf Eritrea Shabiya is a killer. Isas Afwerki is a killer. Ethiopia and Eritrea is guilty of genocide. The blood of my people is heavy. There is nothing else that I fear no man but God. Okay? Allah, if you, my Muslim brothers and sisters. So I swear to you that no matter what happens, we Tagaru, those who try to tell us they know everything and they will do everything, I'm going to question them every day. And if they are doing the right things, I'm going to bow to them and I'm going to respect them and I'm going to love them and I'm going to tell them Jaganu Tagaru. But for those who twist their tongue, they tell me what I want to hear and they do something else, I'm going to call them out. My people's blood is enough. My mother's tears is enough. I was less than 5 when I lost my mother. For many of you, you had the opportunity. For some of us, we did not. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you talk.
Thanks, Mike. So, again, the point is, as Mike has stated, we cannot continue like this. So my message to you guys, the young generation who follow this program, is you need to know the history of Tigrayanis, the history of Aksum, the leaders of Tigray, the leaders, the kings, the queens we had. Tigray is the foundation of history, the foundation of religion was Christianity and Islam. The foundation of human development, medicine, the foundation of technology. However, this Tigray and its people living together with Ethiopia, evil Ethiopia, a killer of Tigray, a murderer of Tigray. This history has been repeating itself over and over and over again. 100,000 people, soldiers from Tigray, died in Gondar because Menelik was working with a foreign government to kill Tigrayans in Gondar. There was a king. This is a true story. I'm not creating it today. This has been written in books. Read your story history books. Tigrayan monks, known as Abba Stephanos, Dekika Stephanos, their holy religious fathers, just because they spoke up against the government, the king, the Jacob, who was a Shua descent king, they were killed. Why? Because they were Tigrayans. In one day, over 5,000 people, monks. Imagine these Amharas, they claim Tigrayans and Amharas have the same religion. We have the same religion. We don't have the same religion. Our people, Tigrayans, don't kill innocent civilians. We don't have a religion that says kill, rape children and women, young girls. We don't have a religion that says burn churches, burn mosques. We don't have a religion that says execute civilians. We don't have that. Maybe they have that. That's not our religion. Tigray does not have religion. So we are not one. We are not one. There's a big difference between an angel and a Satan. There's a big difference. So we have to distinguish between this one and that. So we've seen so much horror. We are seeing so much horror right now, currently. These people are not afraid of to use illegal weapons, chemical weapons, to kill civilians in mass. Imagine, in the last 2.5 years, forget in the last 2.5 years, in the last 7 months, besides few Oromos, have you ever seen an Amhara person coming to a protest, protesting with Tigrayans, opposing the actions of the evil government of Ethiopia? No. When civilians of Tigrayans die, when women are raped, they were celebrating in masses. So how could it be one We were never one from the beginning. So we have to learn from the story, from the history, from ourselves. As Mike said, it's not a time to go back again. We're not going to make a U-turn now. We're going to go all the way until we have a free nation called Tigray. Tigray. As he has stated, it has its own militarily powerful military, powerful economy. Our land is the most beautiful land, the most fertile land. We can develop from nothing. We can be the most developed country. Our people have the masters. Our people have the skills to reach a developed country. So if we work hand to hand, working together, there's nothing that we cannot accomplish. So speaking about this evil Ethiopia, it's a done deal. For those of you, my suggestion, for those of you who are in love with this called evil Ethiopia, think twice.
Time to divorce it.
If you want, you can go and live with them. But our people, we decide for ourselves. Nobody decides for us. We decide for ourselves. We choose our government. We choose our leaders. We decide our destination. So that's my advice to you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. That's well said. So before we close the segment, it's just amazing, like what you cover, and it's very interesting. Some of the criticism that you've gotten and I've heard. I will say that it's been very productive and very encouraging because I am a believer of different of opinions. And for by far the vast majority of Tagaru whom I spoke with throughout the protests around the country, even when they bring up a different idea, when they say, we like you, but sometimes you're too harsh. I understand. These are the people who might have mixed children with Eritrea or Amhara. And I don't have an issue with that. It's not to say that we're not going to have Amhara or Eritrean coming to Tigray living with us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, respect my people. Understand that for you to live in peace, you must also make peace. So for those Eritreans, when I say Shabia the killer, Higdef the killer, Isaias the killer, I'm not generalizing it. But I will say this. The vast majority of Eritreans are either scared to come out or are suspicious that we're going to retaliate, or they are so divided among themselves, they have no path to walk. And that's disgrace. That's shame. We speak Tigrinya. They speak. Eritrea has 9, I believe, different ethnicities. The Tigrinya speaking people are Tagaru. Do you know that those Eritreans who speak Tigrinya are Eritrean citizen? They don't even know that they are Tagaru. That's the delusional mind, that how brainwashed they are. I was talking to a few Eritreans that spoke Tigrinya in Denver, Colorado. They're amazing people. And I'm just talking to them. So where are you from? Well, I'm from Eritrea, but you speak Tigrinya. Yeah, because of course they're talking to me in Tigrinya. They're like, yeah. Oh, so you're just Tigrawite, Tigrawite. Like, no, we're not. I'm like, why not? They're like, because we are Eritreans. Okay, I'm Tigrayan, but I'm Tigrawite. They're like, yeah, that's because you're from Tigray. Oh, so to be Tigrawite or Tigrawite, you have to be from Tigray. They're like, well, we never heard that before. That's because you don't dig deep and understand your history. When you don't study your history, you take sound bites, Those are the Donald Trump soundbite followers. Call them the Proud Boys. They take a 5-6-year-old mind, get brainwashed, and they are stuck on that one. Their vision, even though we can see widely, it's like narrow like this, like that. And that is the sad reality. Because if those Eritreans who claim to be Jaganu, you spent 30 years of fighting and 30 years of slavery. That's 60 years. For many, that's lifetime. So it sounds I'm criticizing. I'm speaking the fact. If you don't like it, I'm sure I'll be back in Denver. Actually, I've made a couple of friends that are part of the Higdef movement. I don't have an issue with that. People say, Mike, you crazy. How could you actually even talk to these people? They're going to hurt you. No, this is America. I live in a democratic society where I can use my word, not my physical ability to harm someone or vice versa, because that's not how we operate here in this country. No matter how we sugarcoat it, we are there's a rule of law. So if somebody wants to do something to me, well, that means they're signing their death sentence as well. So I'm not worried about that. But I will say this. For those of you who are wondering what's next, tomorrow, we got a healthcare worker national protest in Sacramento, California. I know it's a last minute notice maybe, but we've been announcing it. I've announced it last week on Brother Jeff's show. I know I've been absent from cyber quite a bit, but I've been working. Traveling all over the country. As you know, I was in Los Angeles. I was in the Bay Area. Those protests, I was part of the organizers. In fact, the Bay Area warplane that flew overhead for hours carrying the Tigray flag with pride and that say 200 days #Tigray genocide with amazing Tagaru. I prepared that with the help of some of my amazing Tagaru brothers and sisters here in the West Coast, and the community in the West Coast say, Mike, we're going to pay for it. It was almost $3,400. And guess what? They dug their pocket and they said, we got you back, Mike. And they paid for it. So this is the beauty of Tagaro. Denver, Colorado. Before I went to Denver, Colorado, I went to DC last week. From DC, I went to Dallas. From Dallas, we went to Oklahoma City. We let Senator Jim Inhofe know that his lack of understanding the political crisis in Ethiopia, dirty Ethiopia and the Tigray region, is unacceptable. He was appreciating Meles Zenawi, which he forgot. Meles Zenawi was the chairman of the TPLF, but he was bragging how Abiy Ahmed is the smartest man and that the TPLF is a terrorist organization and that we don't need to support them. But he made no mention about the genocide in Tigray. So we went straight to his office. Oklahoma City is as white as it can be. So when white people saw us with American flag and Tigray flag, they were just like, oh, hey, what is this? And you know what? I've learned something. Actually, they are very nice people. I mean, literally, they're like, Jim Inhofe is like supporting like dictatorship and genocide in your home country? We're like, yes. Well, there will be an election. There will be election consequences. We're like, oh, great. But now we're not thinking about the upcoming election for him to be reelected. We're thinking about today, our people, lives are being lost. So why not for you reach out to his office, write emails, make phone calls on behalf of the civilians in Tigray? And we had them Google Tigray. We had them go on Twitter and Facebook and see what's happening. And they say, this is awful. They like, we have no idea. So anyway, from there, I came back home, spent a day or two, went straight to Denver. Denver community asked me to do the same thing with the plane, organized it. We had the plane flying overhead with Tigray flag, with Tigray genocide, #Tigray genocide. And we had some opportunities African Americans joining us, Caucasians joining us, Armenians joining us in that protest, and spoke passionately against the genocide in Tigray. And that is precisely what we're doing. So to continue to the Caucasian community, to the Asian community, to the African American community particularly, genocide is not politic. Karen Bass of California is an African American politician who actually was supporting Abiy Ahmed. We went straight to Los Angeles, California. We protested in front of her office. We wrote massive emails, phone calls to her office. We flooded her. And you know what? She co-sponsored a bill called Resolution 445 with Senator out of San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi, one of the most powerful women in American politics. So the Amhara, now, they were telling Karen Bass, you are a hero. We love you. You're amazing. Now they're calling her Wayane paid Banda or Junta. I mean, you know, they're calling President Biden Junta. Secretary Blinken, Junta. So anybody who speaks against atrocity in the minds of those cowards, Ethiopians, who cheer on the death of Tagaru, you must be junta. For us, we will document those evils. We will know who they are because they think, like 20 years ago, Isaias Afwerki said, for 7 years he dug in Badime and other territory in Tigray and said, there is no way Ethiopian military will remove my military from these territories. If they do, it's like the sun sets and it never come back. And those areas he dug to protect his army, it took no time to bury them in that same spot. So for the Eritreans say, what about 98? Tell me what about 98? No Tigrayan soldiers crossed to Eritrean borders and rape you women and your children and stole your properties or your livestock. You, on the other hand, came to Tigray. You stole the doors of any businesses and private. You stole like a spoon and a bread maker. You stole every livestock from Tigray and took it to Eritrea. Anything that you were not able to steal, to loot, you destroyed it, you burned it. And I hope those who created this atrocity, they are burning alive and they go to hell soon. That's how pissed off I am. I have no mercy for those evil. I'm not talking Eritrean community. I'm talking those evil people that came to Tigray and rape our children, women, and destroyed every infrastructure in Tigray, including blocking farmers from farming their crop for the next season. I have no patience and I have no mercy for you. I will continue to fight with my people for the people of Tigray, and you'll be accountable for your action. There's no doubt. For those propaganda machine out there, you are as evil as those who are creating the atrocity in Tigray. Especially those of you who are fathers, mothers, parents, disgrace, shame on you. If that was your daughter being gang raped, if that was your mother being gang raped, if that was your brother being shot in the back of the head, your father being shot in the back of the head because of their ethnicity, I guarantee you, you'll be crying bigger than we are. I guarantee you'll be out there committing suicide or going on a rampage and doing the dirty things that your people are doing to our people. So when you come out on your social media, talk about there's no genocide in Tigray, shame on you. Shame on you. I wouldn't wish it on your sister, brother, mother because they're innocent people. But I wish that's happening to you when you come out on social media. I don't care if you're woman and man and you talk about there's no genocide in Tigray. I wish that evil act that's happening by your people is happening to you, so you can feel the pain of my people. Because if it wasn't me being led to survive and leave to Sudan, to become a refugee and get education in this country and have, you know, children in this country, my two beautiful daughters could be among the victim of Tagaro in Tigray, had I not left Tigray and grew up in Tigray and had my children in Tigray. That could have been them. That's what I think every single day. When I think of any woman in Tigray that's being raped by those dirty Eritrean troops and Amhara militia and Fort Alabash and federal troops, that's what every day that I cannot sleep. That when I'm drinking water, I choke sometimes if I think about that, when I think about that. So I try to remove that from my head for the moment. So when I go out protesting, when I speak to my people, I try to stay positive and strong. But internally, my pain is deep, just the same ways that any brothers from Tigray, any mothers from Tigray, any sisters from Tigray. It is no different. When I mention about my mother, I don't want you guys to feel sorry for me. I became emotional, so I switched the screen. Because those who died, they're heroes. Those people in Tigray sacrificed their lives. They're our heroes. That is why we're going to continue the fight. They can bring the chemical weapons. They can bring tanks. They can bring warplanes. They brought all of those things to wipe us out. They failed to do so. So we're going to continue the fight. I won't say it, but I'll try to stay in tune with cyber. But I'll be traveling long road, and I hope to see each and every one of you before I travel the long road that I have a plan. I'm going to try to bring a few people in the show the next few days. Among them is going to be Dennis Wadley. For those of you who watch, he is the one that interviewed the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and brought the truth out to the world and told the world how Abiy Ahmed is evil and how he's living in Ethiopia, making every one of our people living in hell based on ethnicity, because they are by birth or by blood from Tigray. The hundreds of thousands of young Tagaro in the diaspora, born and raised, and they have not even seen Tigray. The courage and strength and ability to fight, I can't say enough, but I am so proud of you. I love you, and you continue the fight. I sound like I'm going to die tomorrow, but I'm going to continue the fight with you as your brother. You know me. You know how I talk. Sometimes I get myself into trouble, but you know what? It's the love of my people. Anyway, I'm going to let you do a closing statement.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I just want to add one thing, and about the Eritrean. You told us some younger generation about who lost their identity. They don't know who they are. They speak Tigrinya. When you tell them they are Tigrayans or Tigrinya, as if Tigrinya, they tell you they're not. So we remember Eritrea is, in the last 30 years, they fought for 30 how many years to get their own independence. And after they become independent, pretty much it's a dictatorship, a one-man ruling country, the rest of its history. So the people of Eritrea, they went from hell to another hell. They had no freedom at all. There was no elections. And the government, the dictator in Eritrea, was brainwashing the young generation and killing the older people, the people who know their history, the people who know where they came from. They were being killed, and the younger generation were being brainwashed and forgetting who they are, and also making Tigrayans as their number one enemy. This is a brainwash. But my message to those Eritrean brothers and sisters who are watching or following this program Make sure you know history. Before Eritrea became a country, there was no Eritrea. There was no border between Eritrea and Tigray. It was governed, led by Aksum kings. The history of Aksum is the history of Eritreans. You did not come from a different planet. You are Tigrayans. So this brainwashing by Isaias made those younger to just not know history. They don't teach them. So when you tell them you are Tigrinya, they don't believe you. I don't blame them. They don't know their history. On the other hand, for example, in my church, we have people from Tigray and people from Eritrea meeting on Sundays, worshiping God, blessing God, giving, receiving your service at the same time. If he asks those people their history, they know who they are. They know who they are. So we have different things. The government, the dictator Isaias made every Eritrean to be suspicious of each other. So if you ask one person, they will not tell you. They are suspicious of the other person. This is the effect, the result of a country where they have no freedom. So my message, we should not lose hope on this. Once we get our victory, once we get our people, bring them to peace, to harmony from this evil situation, war, genocide going on in Tigray, everything will go smoothly. Those who are responsible, who made inhumane crimes in Tigray, whether they are in Eritrea or in Fort Alabash places or different parts of this evil Ethiopia country, they will pay the price. Yeah, they will be brought to justice. That I can assure you. We will never rest. We will never sleep until we bring those people to justice. So to those young generation, our people, Tigrayans all over the world, you are following us, who will be viewing this video, keep up what you're doing. You're doing excellent work. We have to work hard. There's so much ahead of us that's waiting for us. For one or two people, it will be difficult. It may be a little bit challenging, but if we work together as team, if we are united, there is nothing that we cannot do on this earth with God's blessing, with God's blessing. So we are very helpful. God bless our people. God bless our nation, Tigray. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know that, you got family, most of us do, but for you to take your time to do the Tigrinya version, and then Ephraim was going to join us, obviously, but he got a little busy. So we miss him, obviously. But for those of you who followed us, for those of you who continue to support us, this is it. This is a platform that we have to continue to elaborate. We have to continue to educate one another. When I say that, we learn from you. I learn from you. We learn from one another. This is the power of Tagaro. So let us be strong. Let us be united, and be sure the few within us that are pretending to be one of us, but are snakes who are piping the information and passing out to the enemies that is killing our people in Tigray. Let's be sure we know who they are. But let us also be careful. Someone who has objective ideas, disagreements, and questions things, we don't judge them quickly, and we don't call them like banda, because that is precisely the division that we wanted to avoid. You see, Abiy Ahmed is not a career politician. That is why he's fell miserably, because a career politician, an intelligent man, would have first say to Tigray people, thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication. You are my people. You are amazing. I want to work with you. I want you to give me an opportunity to be elected because I've been an interim prime minister. But if you give me a chance to run the country, I will do everything in my power to support you for the democratic process that you gave an ultimate price for me to be your leader. And you know what? The Tigray people would rose with him in support, and he could have become a good leader instead of an evil, unelected man. So the miscalculation for him to go look up, you want to call him his husband or his boyfriend or partner in theft and whatnot and massacre in Tigray, but or his father, with all due respect, Isaias Afwerki is out of all the 110 million people in that dirty country called Ethiopia, he chose the number one enemy dictator, Isaias Afwerki, which Isaias Afwerki has been the sleeping snake to retaliate on Tigray, because simply he could not stand the strength of TPLF. When he wanted to wage war with Tigray, with Djibouti, with Sudan, Meles said, we're going to corner him. We're going to make sure that the world puts sanction on his military to ensure. But the mistake, of course, is if we had followed Sia Abraha and the rest of them, that they want to get rid of him in 20 years ago, we wouldn't be here today. So our own mistakes that we described earlier, our own failures within our communities, within our leadership, is the ultimate price that our people are paying today. So from the history, we're going to move on to the future. From today's pain and suffering of our people, we're going to bring the good Eritrean communities in the diaspora and at home, the Tigrayan people. You must then, though, you must be a nationalist. You must be Tigray, put in Tigray first. I don't care what anybody says. Tigray first, then you work diplomatically with those who are willing to be neighbors peacefully, who respects your boundary, your territory, your people, your land, which is a territory. Without that, I don't think we want to go back to this darkness that we've seen in Tigray today. So with that, sometimes there are certain words that I like to say them in Tigrinya because they don't just make me feel the way I feel in Tigrinya. Because it's just deep. I'm proud to be Tigray. I'm proud to have the opportunity and the ability to use English, just my language, to use Tigrinya, just my language. I regret losing most of my Arabic because it's an amazing language too. But I know how to say the basic stuff to the Sudanese people. I repeat it over and over. Inshallah, Tigray Urwatiya. Inshallah, Tsarhu Lahum Shukran Hawatna. Tagaru Hawat. Tagagi Mnazogana Yelam Anti Nuguslon Gasali. Harina Tazaravna Galantavalna. Figrina Hizvina. Celestim Anayu. Gif'ina Hizvina. Celez Harana Nayu. Bihizvina Sirrah Zallo Gif'i. Bihagdafawian Belna Befot Alabash. ብሄረ ብሄር ኢትዮጵያ ንትግራይ መጽዮም ከንብ ዑደታትና ኣሕዋትና ዝመከርዎ ንሪኦ ኢና ዘለና ሎማዓንቲ ለይቲ እዩ እንሄ ኣብ ትግራይ 71 መካይን ብመቐለ ገይረን ብዓዲግራት ገይረን እንትጨም ምስ በፅሓ ናይ ፎት ኣለባሽ ድዩ ናይ ብሄረ ብሄር ኢትዮጵያ ብልጽግና መራሒኦም ከምኡ እውን እቲ ኣቦይና ዝፅውዖ ናይ ሻዕብያ ብዛላምበሳ ዜረን ተሓት ሓወሳ ምስቶም ፌደራል ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ዩኒፎርም እናገበሩ እዞም ረስሓት ሕግደፋውያን ናይ ሻዕብያ ወታደር ተሓዊሶም መካይን ሒዞምን ዝመፁ ሙሉእ መዓልቱ ኣብ ሃገረሰብ ናይ ድብድቦ ውፅኢልካ ገንደፍታ ከባቢ ዝበሃል ቦታ ተዋጊኦም 60 መኪና ዝመልኣ 60 መኪና ብምሉእ ነቃፂሎም እቶም ዝነበሩ ወታደር ቁስሊ ንቁስሊ ሞት ንሞት ኮይኖም ተሪፎም እዚ ዓወታት እዚዩ ብሕብረታዊ ክወፀና ኣብ ቀረባ ግዜ ካብኡተን ዘምለጣ ተወሰና 11 መኪና እውን ናበይ ከየምልጣ ግዜአን እየን ዝቕፀላ እቲ ህዝብና ትጅግና ዝቃለስ ዘሎ ኣብቲ ሜዳ ካብኡ ከምኡ እናግበር እዩ ነቲ ፀላኢና ረመፅ እያ ትግራይ ሒዙ እውን ረመፅ እያ ብቕልፅምና ናሃቶም መሳርያ ናሃቶም ጥይት ጌርና ኢና ገንጢልና ንወግኦም ዘለና ጋና ኣሎ እዩ ዝፈሰሰ ደም ናይ ተጋሩ ኣብ ባይታ ፈሲሶ ይተርፍን ሓሞኽሽቲ ዝግበሩ ዘለው ቶም እተረፉ እውን ጀነራል ጻድቃን ኢልዎ እዩ ቅድሚ ሕዚ ትግራይ ብጀጋኑ ደቅና ኣሕዋትና ቦታትና ተዘሪኦም እዮም ናሃትና ከም ሽሾ ተዘሪኦም ብዝባና ጥይት ኣይንቅበልን ብግንባርና ይምፁና ኢሎም ዝቃለሱናትና ጀጋኑ ሞራል ጥራይ ኣይኮነን ዘድልዮም ባጀት የድልዮም እዩ ገንዘብ ከድልየና እዩ ብዙሕ ነገር ትፅበየና እዮም ባጀት ዘይብሉ ባንክ ዘይብሉ መንግስቲ እኒሀና ትግራይ ወታደርና ሒዚ ደሞዝ የብልናን ኢሉ ኣየንፀርፅርን ኣይዛረብን ምግቢ ዝበልዖ ክዳን ዝክደኖ መሳርያ ዝተኩሰሉ ጥራይ እዩ ዝሕሉ መሳርያማ ግደፍዎ ኣክሽሎ ተስሓይተ እያ መሳርያማ ብቕልፅሞም ቶም ጀጋኑ ብቕልፅሞም እዮም ካብቲ ፀላኢ ወሲዶም ነቲ ፀላኢ ሓሞኽሽቲ ዝገብርዎ ዘለዉ ዝድዕሩ በቃ እዚ ሲ ታሪክ ይብሉ ኢትዮጵያውያን ናይ እንታይ ታሪክ 15,000 ተጋሩ ኣብ ኤርትራ ተሰውኡ ንኤርትራ ናፅነት ወፅሑ ዝሓገዙ ኤርትራውያን የስታውስዎም ዶ ፈልጥ ኮይና 30 ዓመት ቃልሲ እውን ኮ ኤርትራውያን ብድሕሪትና ኮነ ክዋግኡ ኮ እዮም ከም ኩርኩር ምስ ወያነ ግን ወያነ ንሕና ኢና ስልጢናዮም ንሕና ኢና ምሂርናዮም እናበሉ ዝፍክሩ ዝነበሩ ሒዚ ግን ሪኢኹም ኢኹም ትግራዋይ እንታይነቱ ፈሊጥኩምና ኢኹም ሞተይ ንፈርሕና ተጋሩ ሞተይ ንፈርሕን ባርነት ኣይንቅበልን እንኳን 30 ዓመት ኣብ 7 ወርሒ ንሰርሖ ዘለና ታሪክ ንዑ ኤርትራውያን ኣሕዋት ትግርኛ የዛረበኩም ዘለኹ ጉራ ኣይኮነትን እዚኣ ኣንቱም መድሕርሕርቲ ኤርትራውያን ኣንቱም ፈርሓት ንሞትና ንጥኢት ትፈርሕዋ ስረይኹም ንዑ ርእይዋ ሂዚ ጅግንነትኩም ርእይዋ ንዒ ንዑ ሂዚ ኣብ ጎና ኮይንኩም ተዋግኡ ኣብ ኣስመራ ዝኒሄ ቀታሊ ህዝብኩም ኣውፅእዎ ንሃትኩም ስራሕ እዩ ንስ ንሕና ኣይኮና ንሰርሐልኩም ንሕና ስራሕና ንሰርሖ ንኣቶም ሓሞኽሽቲ ንገብሮም ነቲ ህዝብና ግፍዕ ዝሰርሕዎ ነቲ መሬትና ዝወርዎ እዩ ኤርትራ ሃገርኩም ኮይንኩም ተመሓዳድርዋ ክተንብርዋ ግን ስረይኹም ርእዩና ኤርትራውያን ዘለኹም ፕሮፓጋንዳኹም ይትረፍ ሓሰውቲ መጭበርበርቲ ንዑ ስረይኹም ርእዩና ኣብ ጎኒ ትግራይ ህዝቢ ኮይንኩም ተቃለሱ ጅግንነትኩም ርእዩና እስካብ ሎምማ ባርነትኩም ርእይኹምና ናይ 60 ዓመት ታደ ኤርትራ ኸ ታዝነብዕት ከ እንታይ እያ ገይርኩም 2-3-4 መንእሰይ ወፍያ ንኤርትራ ኢላ ኣስውያ ኸ እንታይ ኢኹም ጅግንነት ረኺብኩም ማንካ ሽሮ ክሰርቁ ለያቡ ውርደተኛሃት ቀሚስ ናይ ሰበይቲ ክሰርቁ እስቲ ንዑ ስረይኹም ርእይዎ እቶም ፅሩያት ኣሕዋትና ኤርትራውያን ግን ደጋጊመ እየ ዝብሎም ምስጋና እዩ ኩሉ ግዜ ዘይልወጥ ቃል እዩ ዘለና ንኣቶም ንሶም ኣብ ጎንና ኮይኖም ዝቃለስዎ ዘለዉ ቃልሲ ፅባሕ ንጎ ድማ ኣብ ጎኖም ኮይና ንሃገሮም ቁም ነገር ክሰርሑ እንተለዉ ኣይነስተሓፍሮምን ኢና እዚ ናይ ትግራዋይ ቃል ኣይቕየርን ኣንቱም መልሓስኩም ጠወይቲ ሕግደፋውያን በልኩምን ሻዕብያ ግን ሓሰውቲ ኢኹም ውሽጢ በይንኹም ትገብሩ ኣይ ዞም ተጋር ሕነ ክፈዲና እዮም ትሉ ኣይንገብረን ኣንቱም ለያው ንስኻትኩም ሰረቕኩም ንብረት ከም ተምፅዎ በፍንጭ ክንሓንቀኩም ኢና በፍንጫኹም ደም ክነግስዐኩም ኢና ሓቀኛሃት ግን እዚ ሓረስታይ ገባር ናይ ኤርትራ ሙሉእ ሃገር ዘሎ ኣይንትንክፎን ንብረቶ ይንሰርቕ ውርደት ዘይልምድና ብሃይማኖትና ዘይንቕበሎ ብስሩስ ናይ ትግራዋይ ሲ ንሕና ተጋሩ ዋይ ሕነ ኮይ ንፈድን ኢና ሕነ ንፈድዮ ብሕጊ ብስነ ስርዓት ኢና ቶም መድሕርሕርቲ ቶም ለያቡ ግን ናይ ባዕሎም መልሲ ኣለዎም እዩ ብቲዲኤፍ ድዮም ሒዚ ሓሞኽሽቲ ክግበሩ ፅባሕ ንጎ ተሓኒቖም መፅኦም ድዮም ብእስር ቤት ፍርዲ ክበሉ ንሱ መልሲ ኣለዎ እዩ ቀንጠብጠብ ግን ናትና ኣይኮነን ለቕመፅመፅ ግን ገዲፍና እዩ ኢና ድሕሪ ሒዚ ንስኹ ኢልካ ድንን እናበልካ መገዲ ኣይንፈልጥን ንሱ ኢለ እዮም ድርቅና ገይረ ዝዛረብ ዘለኹ زي دركنا يكون حق النتيجة أنتم وردتني هات كالسي بيتان تسرعتي رسحة زي تفوتو كونغو غيركم بس إخو من تجراي بوت رجيسكم تملصوا وردتي زناهم وردتني هاتهم جيف السرعهم بهز تجراي تجديدنا عيناي خمسية تورزل لهم أي قبلني يعني حسكم ما زال لهم برات ملسكم نتزجددكم جنبار بتقيت ولو كأونا وانا نعو كاب كمشنا تخدمكم تحبوا تجراي هزي سرهم تعاتكم ناب تي دي اف مسيخم أو قلنا نخم لكم نعتق على سمسانا هاجركم ناس أو صوا بارنت كام شنكلاتكم أو صوا برين واش غيرنا أيه زي مجدي سكاحيزنا تقبلكم يا مسيح دحر حيزقن بك إحنا خمزيات نجر عين فلتن بسنا سرعات بحقي بسلام أو قلنا خوينكم تقالوا سنعو إزيو إذا بروباغندا ناي تويتر ناي فيسبوك تصرحوا وجن إذا نهاتكم دراما بهزوخم 3 عام تصرحهم ما نعرف تقرأي موتيو أي سرحني أي نقبلن نحنا تجارو موتي لنا مرس كاوزي بك مكنياتو بارنة أي نقبلن سلايفري أي نقبلن تجارو إحنا بمنهم تأمر زماز أي مسألنا موتي لنا مرس علمانا نسيو طاليان موتيو نسخاتكم شحانك تحاسو باستا تولعو نحنا قوتها تقرأي أولدنا جن أبقى سيام نيرو 1941 ناي موسولوني وتادرات كاسل استشعر علي تدمسي سم استقتلوا جنرال تقتلوا أو عدوا وزيركا رعايز بحال هاجرسب مقابر النهائي سكاولا من إيطاليا تيستر تعرف زي تفولتو أنو رأيوا نزفولتو أفلتو بروباغندا حسوتو ماهركم إرترا هاجريا ناولكم تبلو تفكروا جن وردتينا أخاتكم تن بليبيا بخالي هاجرا زموت حواتكم ريب تجارا إرتراويان تميت الشح إرتراويا بتجراي موتيو ناي تجراي منجست تقبل ناي تجراي هيز تقبل زول عزستير نبري لو متجويت أفيزن هي بشعبية خنتا ناتمر سنتايو كافتم 8 كافتم 9 عنقلن 100 شح زخونو 10 شح أبيت قوي 5 فوم زي فلت خي حزب ليكون يمنا إرترا حزب إرترا خنتا يغيركم أنا مقدف ويت حلو لنا ديكي حزب إرترا ساق زول خنتا يغيركم كم زي عينة تفعلالكم سخاتكم سي استتوم هارون إستي نحنا تجاركو بقى أيحت تسألمتينا حاسرتنا وحتينا أسلام كريستيانينا دك توعتي دك أنستينا بهزبنا زمت أجن من ما يفعلنا لنا عجامة يخبركم أخصم عدوى شيرة مقالة قليلكم تفعلالنا موكيركم ليركم أيكون لكم عين فلنا نحنا تومنا هاتنا هذا محيز عفتما جمعت عنتو زغلسكم كم باندات كوينكم كويت ترفو أبدي سوا زلكم بلاس هنا حفتي ذيناتنا لكم رأيوه نحنا تجارن يستي بلعنا بني يستي نبر سبات سلزخونا مرحر حرتي عين خونن سلاء ورارينا عين رمز يا مريتنا إنابلنا هذا روان وحب ليا closing statement سلزنا ورد جين يا من البات أبزي أسمعيت كي تهلو بتجرنيا سلزي بلكا تام درخنا بخا كاوخن عصوينا
إيش هاي من مزوري ولا عنتو بتجرنيا وان بروحي وسل زحلفنا يت ملختي يا وتحورت سبنا عايزوخا كل تجراي حزبنا أو وش تعب زلون أو وزع زلون تجراوي بفصوم تسفى يغورز أنيو حواتنا نايقدنيو እግዚአብሔር ምሳና ይዘሎ ጽዮን ማርያም ታቦቶ ጽዮን ናይ ሙሴ ጽላት ምሳና ያዘላ ጽላት ሙሴ ተዘይት ፈቅድ ኔራ ናብ ትግራይ መጸት ኔራ እዚ እንታይ ዘርኢ ህዝብና እግዚአብሔር ዝመረጾ እዩ ንሐቅነት ጠጠው ንብሊና ንነጻነት ጠጠው ንብሊና ንስተገፍዑ ጠጠውና ድምጽና ነስምዒና አብልዒና መግዛእቲ ተተጻይኑና ግን ትግራዋይ መግዛእቲ ተጻይኑ ይخيድኒ ነጻነትና ነኽብሮ በዓርስና ኢና ነጻነትና ናይ ምክባር ኃይል ድማ እግዚአብሔር ምሳና ኮይኑ በዓርስና ነጻነትና ነጻኽነ ውጪና ትግራዋይ ኮይኑ አሜን ኢሉ ዝግዛእ ትግራዋይ የለን እዚ ክንፈልጥ ኣለና ስለዚ ዓቕምና ኩሉ ፍልጠትና ገንዘብና ነቲ ሜዳ ዘሎ ትግራይ መሬት ዘሎ ዝቃለስ ዘሎ ህዝብና ጀጋኑ መናእሰይ ትግራይ አወዳትን እንስትን ኩሎም ማለት እዩ كنردهم كنحجزهم مورال كنكونهم يقبأ كنتنكر يقبأ كنتحاور يقبأ كنسرح يقبأ كمتي بانديرانا ناي تግራይ فقودو كتماتات لاولل بوللكم دارانا نخد زلنا حزون نقصللو صباح نغو نصا زخونت هاجرنا ማንኛውም ትግራዋይ በነጻነት ካብ ጫፍ ናብ ጫፍ በሓድነት አሞንጎና ፍልልይ እንተ ያለወ ዕቤት ዘለዎ ነጻነት ዘለዎ ብርሃን ዘለዎ ዓዲ ሃኒጽና ክንነብር ኢና እዚ ብደንቢ ከም ነረጋግጾ ተስፋ ዝቆርጽ ትግራዋይ ክህሉ የብሉ ነው እዚ መሬት ዝንዳለና ማለት እዩ እና ክንጥንክረለና ሳይበር ፓወር ኦፍ ትግራይ ድማ ነዚ ትገብርዎ ዘለኹም ብሙሉ ተቅርቦ ዘለኹም ፕሮግራማት መንጥዕናን ይሃብኩም አይዞኻትኩም በርትዑ we are on your side we support you በጣም ጽቡቅ ፕሮግራማት ክትገብሩ ዘለኹም በተለይዞም መናእሰይ እንዳቅረብኩም ናፍቲ ፕሮግራም ተምጽዎም ዘለኹም ታሪኾም ክፈልጡ መንነቶም ክፈልጡ ምግባር ኣብ ወጻእ ዓዲ ኮይንካ ካሊ ኮምፕሊትሊ ባህሊ ዘለዎ ነዞም ሰባት ነዞም ህፃውንቲ እዚኣቶም ነዞም young generation train እናገበርካ ነው ዝምምጻ ማለት is a huge sacrifice but አብይ ለውጥ ይኹንቶም ትገብሩ ዘለኹም I'm very proud of you ቀጽሉሉ ክንዕወቲና እግዚአብሔር አምላክ ምሳና ይኹን ያንደል
thank you ያንደልና thank you አንውሕና የናለማዕትና ክብረት ያበና ሁሉም ተካተልና አሕዋት ብሩኽ መዓልቲ ኣብ ዓለም ርእ ዘለኹም ምሸታው ዘለኹም ከማን ብሩኽ ምሸት እናበልኩ ብዙይ ንሳናውተኩም ኣብ ቀጻሊ ግዜ እስካብ ንራኸብ ሰላም ኩኑ ትግራይ ትዕወት
አሜን thank you